Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be taking on this BMW, which isn't quite a disaster detail, but it's very dirty. It's just covered 3,500 miles on a round trip from Glasgow to Seville. If you know, you know. I don't want to talk about it. But anyway, let's take a look at how this BM is looking. So as you'll have seen from that intro there, the front of the car is covered in a ton of flies. So it opens up a nice little opportunity to test out some bug and grime remover against a few different chemicals. I'm going to test it out against a citrus pre-wash, an all-purpose cleaner, then the bug and grime remover, and then I'm just going to throw some Garage Therapy Zero Decon into the mix as well. This isn't an in-depth test, it's just a very quick comparison before I crack on with the wash. So at the moment, just liberally spraying the bugs in some citrus pre-wash first. Then I'm using Autosmart's G101, again liberally coating the bumper in the G101. The next chemical that I'm going to use is Geon's Bug and Grime Remover. Again, another liberal coating. It is a warm day, so I'm finding I'm not getting an awful lot of dwell time, and I'm not really wanting these chemicals to dry in on the paint. So the second they look as if they're starting to dry out, I'm just going to wash them off, or power wash them off. And then finally, I'm just cracking on with some Garage Therapy Zero Decon in the spray bottle, which I'm going to be using as part of the wash anyway. So just while I'm getting everything all rinsed off here, I'll go through the ratios that I had mixed up for all these products. So the citrus pre-wash, I had it pre-mixed up in a bottle at 5:1. The Autosmart G101, again I had it pre-mixed up at a ratio of 10:1. And the Garage Therapy Zero Decon was freshly mixed up at a ratio of 10:1. The bug and grime remover was used neat. So that would probably come in as the most expensive product that was used in this test. So that being the most expensive, I would expect it to do the best job. But just having a look at how all these products done, and to be fair, they all actually done quite well. They definitely did not remove all of the bugs that was on the paintwork, but realistically they all done a half decent job. They were probably all about as good as each other in terms of just pure bug removal capacity. But that's enough for that silly wee test, just to amuse myself. Time to crack on with the actual wash of this car. Now, this car was last washed not long before it went away, and it was protected with Geon wet coat, and as you can see, it's still performing very well. So just finishing up with that, let's take a look at the products that we're going to be using to wash most of the car. We'll be starting with Auto Glands Rebound, then I'll be doing the Garage Therapy One Wheel Shampoo. I'll be using Garage Therapy Zero Decon 3 ways. We've got the Garage Therapy Glass Cleaner, the Panel Wipe, and finishing the tyres off with Tyre serum. Then of course, the subject of the video, Garage Therapy 2 Alpha Wax. In terms of the wash process, I'll try and keep it short and sweet because I know that you want to see how the wax is looking at the end of the video. However, we need to get the car clean before we do the waxing. So we'll start with the wheels and tyres as always, using the Auto Glands Rebound on the tyres, and then I used the Garage Therapy One Wheel Shampoo in the snow foam lands today. I don't know why, I just felt like a wee change. And then as always, I'm using my EZ barrel brushes and the EZ big brush, the Garage Therapy Wheel Wash Mitt, and then a little detailing brush to give the caliper a clean and make sure the nuts are nice and clean as well. So this is a topic that's came up quite a lot recently, and it's pre-washing your car. Now the sun's out, it's quite a warm day, so I am giving the car a pre-rinse because I want to cool the panel temperatures down before I go in with my pre-wash, which in this instance is going to be the Garage Therapy Zero Decon at 10 to 1. Essentially I'm going to be using Garage Therapy Zero Decon 3 ways. I'm going to be using it as a pre-wash and then rinsing as I go, as a snow foam, and I'm going to be using it in the wash bucket as well because I want as clean a surface as possible to put the wax down on. So the aim of the game is to absolutely wipe out that G-on wet coat, as well as taking away all this bird muck and all those bug splatters that is all over the car. So doing the pre-washing in the sun was really actually quite challenging. I was spraying little bits, letting it go to work and then rinsing it off so that nothing was drying out on the car. Thankfully, my neighbour let me use their drive, which is completely in the shade, so I can now crack on. The car's nice and cool, there's no sunlight getting to the car, so I can just crack on with my snow foam stage, let it go to work, and then take my time rinsing off without worrying about the product drying out on the paintwork. Now it's time to prepare my wash buckets. Now I do already have some of the Garage Therapy Zero Decon shampoo in the bucket. I had a little bit left in the snow foam lands, didn't want it to go to waste, so just popped it into the bucket to top it up, give it a little bit extra cleaning power before cracking on with the contact wash phase, for which I'm going to be using the Garage Therapy wash pad. So you might be thinking, what are you doing here? And essentially what I'm doing is, I've got my wash bucket that's got my shampoo and my wash pad in it, but I'm also spraying the panel with some of the Garage Therapy Zero Decon that's in the bottle at 10 to 1, just to give that little bit of additional bite when trying to remove the G-on wet coat that's applied to the car. You don't have to do it, but in the past I have found that sometimes you need to go over a panel once or twice to get any of the protection off, and in this instance I found that spraying the 10 to 1 mixture onto the panel, then going over with the wash pad that was in the wash bucket with the shampoo, absolutely obliterated any protection that was left. So this is before GT Zero Decon, and then this is after GT Zero Decon. Absolutely obliterated the G-on wet coat that was on the car. The next phase after the contact wash was a quick chemical decontamination, of which I used the Garage Therapy iron, and obviously we don't have a tar remover yet, so I just used TARDIS, and then it's going to be onto the panel wipe. This is basically a pre-wax cleanser or a pre-LSP cleanser, just to make sure that your panel is as clean as possible prior to applying your wax. This is a new product from Garage Therapy, it's the first time that I've properly used it, and to be honest I don't really know how to compare panel wipes, so I'll need to do a bit more digging on that aspect. All I know is that apparently this panel wipe is a lot less aggressive than an IPA and doesn't swell your lacquer or your clear coat as much as what an IPA would. It smells really nice and has a relatively quick flash off time. You can see it flashing off as I'm wiping over the panel there. So, time for the main event, the GT2 Alpha Wax. I'm not quite sure what's blended in this wax. It's quite a hard wax to the touch, and going by the instructions, you should apply it relatively sparingly. It should go on in a thin layer, and it's imperative that you only do one panel at a time, or it can become very, very difficult to remove. When I use this, I put it on doing circular motions. I'm sure you can do crisscross, hatch method, whatever you want to do when you're applying it, but make sure that you do not let this sit on a panel from start to removal for any more than 5 minutes, or you will run into difficulty removing it. I found using the puck and the soft foam applicator, it went on really easy, didn't have any issues with it going on, and just a couple of swipes in the tub quite comfortably covered the full bonnet. You don't need to go for a swipe. You don't need regular swipes on this one before you go in with the wax. A couple of swipes is more than enough to do a panel, like I mentioned before. So after, I think the very first panel I gave it up to the 5 minutes cure time before buffing off, and then realised I need to reduce my time. So I went down to 2.5 minutes after that, and I got a lot of joy with that. It still came off easy enough, or I thought it was coming off easy enough at least. And I used a short pile microfiber cloth to take it off, and then I used a plush microfiber cloth to give it a final buff. And just wait till you see when I'm giving it that final buff how much gloss comes out of this product. Now, just as I'm about to go over this with a plush microfiber, you can see how glossy that bonnet is looking already. The reflection is like a mirror. So just cracking on with the rest of the car, following that same process. A thin layer spread evenly across the car. Again, I'm using circular motions. Then I'm using a short pile microfiber cloth to buff off, and then a very plush microfiber cloth to buff it up to a nice shine, working one panel at a time. Once I finished up with applying and removing the wax, decided to take a little seat and finish the car off with some tyre serum before pulling it out into the sunlight to inspect my work in the sun, and came across this. Now this looks like wash marine, but what it actually is smearing. I don't know if it's additional oils or residue from the wax that just was kind of moving about the panel and not buffing off, but if I wiped over that, basically the smearing moved somewhere else. Now I spoke to Maz, he recommended either using the quick detailer or the glass cleaner to remove that, and that did work no problem at all. And this is the finished shots of the car, which in my opinion is looking absolutely phenomenal. One of the only other things I would say about this wax, which it's not necessarily a negative thing because you trade certain things off with waxes, and this one is a phenomenal beader, but it's not the slickest wax that I've ever used. However, here's some water behaviour from the wax. I'm not going to show you it just in the car that I just done because I don't want to get it wet now, but this is on the test patch that I done on the Subaru Impreza, and that's the kind of beading that you can expect and the kind of water behaviour that you can expect from this wax. So I do hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you on the next one.